Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very special interview on NEWSWAVE, Trinity University student news broadcast on campus station TIGERTV. My name is Nguyen, class of 2024, and here with me again is the current San Antonio mayor and Trinity alum, class of 1999, Mayor Ron Nirenberg. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here again.
Great to join you, Danny.
All righty, Mr. Mayor. So since the last time we talked in early October, what has changed in the city's ongoing battle with the COVID-19 pandemic, and what still needs to be improved?
Well, since last fall, we are now in the midst of a very serious surge of infections during these winter months. And that has been significant because it's even seen numbers higher than what we saw in the summer. That being said, since the summer, we've also advanced our capacity to test individuals as well as trace and isolate infections much better. Our hospitals are working much more efficiently with regard to COVID treatment than in the summer. So we've actually been able to manage through pretty well despite the level of transmission and virus. And we've seen far too many people, friends and family and loved ones lost during this pandemic. The other notable change since we last talked is that we're now no longer anticipating vaccines. We're in the middle of a vaccination rollout. That is a very difficult process, obviously, because there's much more demand than there is supply. And we've seen some changes with regard to the state's rules and how those can be administered. But we are working through that as well. And thankfully, you may see these in the numbers as well. Bexar County and Texas are leading the pack with regard to vaccine administration. Still nowhere where we need to be with regard to achieving herd immunity, but we're getting there, and we're administering the vaccine as well as any in the country at this point.
And as you were mentioning, that actually leads into the next question. So as you said, the COVID-19 vaccines you're currently rolling out, with the vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna currently being distributed, and also other vaccines coming along the way from AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, which are still in clinical trials. So how does this vaccination rollout look right now in the coming months, and what does this mean for perhaps a return to normalcy?
It's going to be quite some time before we return to normalcy. If normalcy means that we no longer have to wear face masks out in public, it's going to be quite some time before we achieve that, before we can actually reduce the level of mask wearing and physical distancing that we're doing. We have to achieve herd immunity, and that is not until we get to about 70 to 90% of the community vaccinated. Where we are right now in that process is we are now opening up. Because of the state's rules change, we have now opened up the vaccine eligibility to tier 1A and 1B. That means healthcare workers, frontline healthcare workers, emergency workers, as well as vulnerable populations, those with chronic conditions, and seniors, people over 65. Those are all the folks that are eligible for the vaccine right now, and it's actually 60% of our population. So almost 1 million people are eligible to receive the vaccine. We're only receiving between 20 and 30,000 doses per week, though. So it is a slow moving process at the moment because of supplies. We have mass vaccination sites set up. We have vaccines being administered on an equity basis. So we're reaching into communities who don't have access to the internet to make sure that they have appointments and are getting vaccinated as well. But it is a slow moving process. What we're hoping to happen over the next couple of months is that more supply is being made available. We do expect that to happen with the Biden administration, who has signaled that they're going to release all of the doses that are available in federal inventory. And we're also hoping, as you said, to see the other two brands come online and into distribution very, very soon. Johnson & Johnson as well as AstraZeneca. Both are awaiting emergency use authorization from the FDA. And once that happens, it'll augment supplies, and that'll be a very good thing.
And, as you know, Mr. Mayor, many residents have these concerns about the risks of getting COVID-19 vaccine, whether it's just safety concerns or even through misinformation. So why should
Yeah.
people be not concerned, and why should they get vaccinated?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because people need to get vaccinated. This is a safe vaccine. It's not any different than, the experience you would have getting a flu vaccine, although this one is, there's a booster, there's a second shot involved. The American vaccination development and approval process is the most rigorous in the world. And people should be assured that it is safe and it's very necessary. The research that is coming out on COVID-19 is disturbing. We still don't know a whole lot about the long-term impacts of a COVID-19 infection. In fact, it's mirroring an autoimmune disease. So it's extremely important that people get protected, that they get immunized. Even if you've already had a COVID-19 infection, we need you to get vaccinated. And again, as a community, we need to see 70 to 90% of our community vaccinated before we can start to ease up a little bit on restrictions like mask wearing and physical distancing. So it's in all of our best interests. The way we've been administering this vaccine through the sites is very safe. You're under observation, after you get the vaccine to make sure there's not any kind of allergic reaction. Allergic reactions are usually very mild and they're quite normal, actually. And they're very rare. But again, we need folks to get vaccinated. It's very safe. And it's very important to protect your health, your family's health, and the community's health.
And Mr. Mayor, since you're a public official, have you gotten the vaccine yet?
I haven't yet. I can't wait. Unfortunately, in my age bracket and health history, I am behind a lot of folks. So I'm waiting my turn. But believe me, as soon as my turn in line comes, I'm going to be there. So, but we need folks to go get vaccinated. In the meantime, again, we've got to continue to keep up the very vigilant mask wearing and physical distancing, which is for me at a premium now because again we're in the middle of a very dangerous period of our pandemic. But I can't wait to get my vaccine. As soon as my number is called, I will be there.
Yeah, and since we last talked, moving on from COVID-19, many events have happened in the past 3 months. One event in particular will forever stain American history. When on January 6, 2021, a mob of supporters for President Donald Trump breached and desecrated the U.S. Capitol in an act of what many would consider an act of domestic terrorism and insurrection. Even now, 5 days away from when we're recording this interview on Inauguration Day, there's still ongoing concerns about safety and violence for the inauguration of the Biden administration. So what were your reactions and thoughts of that day, of that specific day? And what can you say to the audience as we move past this dark day into the new year?
Well, I, like most Americans, was saddened and disgusted by what I saw on January 6th. And, see it very clearly as an act of violent insurrection and clearly incited by the words and actions of our current president and many who enable him. And so I do hope we get past this as a nation and we heal some of the divisions that have been exposed and exacerbated by the last 4 years and perhaps more. And I do hope that because this is probably the most egregious act of insurrection since the Civil War, that those who are responsible for it are held accountable. And that doesn't need to be done hastily, but it should be done thoroughly.
So moving on to a much lighter note, and thank goodness it's 2021. And reflecting back to 2020, what have you personally or you in the city learned in what was a really eventful year?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Danny?
Yeah, so moving on to a much lighter note, it's finally 2021. So reflecting back to 2020, what have you personally or you in the city learned in what was a very eventful year?
Yeah. Oh, we've learned a lot. Our entire community has learned so much. And there's it was an extraordinary year, year of challenge and disruption that's still lingering. By the way, some people are saying that this is the date is roughly December 45th, 2020 right now, because it's still lingering. But I think that most importantly, what we've learned is that our community is extraordinarily resilient, and that there are many reasons why we should be grateful for the blessings that we do have. And one of those blessings here in San Antonio is a sense of teamwork, collaboration, and compassion. It has been devastating for far too many families, from a health aspect to an economic aspect. And to see our community rally around each other to help each other get back on our feet, but also to identify and commit to rectify some of the social challenges that were existing prior to the pandemic. It's gratifying to know that for most San Antonians, we don't want to go back to the way things were. We need to be better than that. The fact that we had 120,000 people on the food bank line, which is double what it normally is not acceptable. In fact, going back to 60,000 people per week in the food bank line prior to the pandemic is not acceptable. So we can be better, we can be stronger, we can be more resilient, and it's very gratifying to be in a city where the people, regardless of the side of town you live on or the means that you have, are committed to that vision.
And after a year of hardship, say is 2020, what are you personally looking forward to in 2021?
A lot of things. Looking forward to going to see a rock concert, maybe if it can happen. I'm going to see, look forward to seeing a Spurs game. If I'm hoping that we can do that again this year. I think we will. I'm looking forward to seeing classes graduate by walking across the stage again. I can't imagine what it's like to be a student, particularly in college or high school, where you're getting a diploma or a degree and you have to do it virtually. So I'm really looking forward to seeing students walk across the stage again. And I'm going to go to as many graduation ceremonies as I possibly can, just to celebrate the fact that we can again.
And what are you in the city looking forward to in 2021?
A lot of things. So we have our workforce training program underway. Looking forward to seeing people matriculate from that skills training program and get into the jobs that are available, and see the number of jobs that are open start to come down because they're getting filled by San Antonians. But I'm also excited to see the Alamo Promise program continue to get stood up and enroll students. You may know that a year or so ago, we launched the Alamo Promise program to reduce barriers to higher education for people in our city that maybe didn't have access to it ever before in their family's history. So I'm looking forward to the educational pipeline in San Antonio finally coming to full speed, and our city has a bright future. So that's very exciting to me, and that will be on clear display in 2021.
And lastly, what do you want to say to not only the Trinity community watching, but also the city of San Antonio?
Wow. First, thank you. Thank you for your persistence through a very dark time during this pandemic. Thank you for having faith in me as your mayor, but also in each other as neighbors and family and friends. This is, and it continues to be, a challenging time in which we will only get through by working together. And that is true, that we've been doing that. But most importantly, right now, as we see vaccines start to be administered in our community, know that we are in the red zone. We aren't in the end zone yet. Continue to do the work that you've been doing. to protect yourself and your neighbors and your family and friends. It's so vital right now, especially as we're so close to seeing the end of this pandemic. Please persist. Please continue to be vigilant, and please continue to have faith in each other that we are going to get through this. And God bless you all.
Well, that is all of the time that we have for today. Thank you to Mayor Ron Nirenberg for being here. To the Trinity community and beyond, stay safe and stay healthy. This is Nguyen, NEWSWAVE 14 reporting.